But I did want to ask you in relation to that, like, talk about maybe a little bit of how you approached it, like engineering and production wise, kind of not knowing what the heck you're getting into. And this was a complicated production, right?
Yeah. And, yeah, well, I feel like the way that I approached it is probably close to the way that I tend to engineer things, and that is just more of a coincidence that makes it be that our collaboration on this is probably not, that there's like a synchronicity or something to saying, meeting, and that there's a similarity of mindset to be able to do stuff, because I just like to take many snapshots of a thing. And so it's sort of documentarist. I'm gonna butcher.
Documentarian, or I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna make up a bunch of words.
Yeah.
As we do this, it'll be good. If I think that there's a dialogue to pick up, or a communication between musicians when they play, that kind of capturing that is different from where you might just be capturing sounds. And that, to me, was how I approached this, is assuming that though we were going to get the sounds of it, what I'm trying to capture has to do with like capturing the environment and the communication, which tends to my mind, to become more, it's very similar to how I would go about recording like a jazz record, or what I like about old jazz records compared to modern jazz records, where things got very slick and very isolated, is like sort of a roomy approach. Now that can have a sonic attribute to it, that something sounds roomy, but for the most part, that kind of way of capturing things is also one where you're more likely to capture the things that are going on between the people in there. So there really was, we were in Dreamland, which is like a notoriously, like, it's a beautiful sounding room.
It's an old church for people.
Yeah. And it's extremely live in a way that is kind of problematic for things that don't want that ambience, and it's hard to get rid of that ambience. So I thought that worked for our purposes in there. And then, but it was a lot of like a movie set in the end, because you were trying to capture this thing that would allow this live, just enough isolation, but absolutely relying on the bleed to be a thing that you're not going to try and get rid of, and is really going to indelibly affect the way the thing sounds, and at the time of mixing it, there's obviously things that you can do, but there's a lot of it that's really going to be set, because you're not going to get rid of like certain aspects of bleed